Oh, wow. Are you able to do something for me?
What's up?
Can you drop that?
Drop what?
The curtain.
Yeah.
Are you able to? If not, I can grab that.
I just have to untangle myself.
You alright?
Yeah. Tired. I was up way early.
Where is that light coming from? Oh, it's catching up. Okay, there we go. Okay. That's a little bit better. Okay. Alright, now we can see what we're doing. And so we are putting our needle together here. I don't know what you are, but there we go. All right. Now, welcome, guys. Oh, welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is doing okay. We probably don't need quite that much fluff. I mean, there's a chance, but I'm thinking we won't need quite all of that today. At the very least. So I know I was kind of on the fence about what we're going to do today. Husband wasn't feeling Stardew. And to be honest, I wasn't really feeling Minecraft today. I mean, I know we do have that project that we need to get back to work on, but I just wasn't quite feeling it. So it's like, you know what? Let us get back to work on this guy, because I don't want to lose our momentum. You might need to charge that. I don't know.
I'm not sure yet either. So I'm actually going to go sit with my a little bit.
Okay. I was actually surprised she wasn't getting pissy in there.
She was. That's why I'm going to go sit
Oh,
with her.
okay. When I went to go pee earlier, I didn't hear her getting mad, so. Oh, and for future reference, my dad refers to her as his cat now, so.
What's that?
My dad refers to her as his cat now, so.
He wants to tell himself that.
Oh, goodness. So, I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. I was actually going to start sooner, but we had to run to the store real quick to finish out our grocery shopping, and I really didn't want to go tomorrow because I feel like a lot of people are going to be just all over the place trying to get stuff for their Super Bowl parties for the weekend here in the US, and I couldn't handle that degree of nonsense out in the stores right now, so. And then my mom and his mom were supposed to go to the store too, and I'm like, okay. I woke up at 10 and they still hadn't even left yet. They were still finishing breakfast. I'm like, alright, look. I have stuff I want to do this afternoon, and Russell was saying, well, maybe we can go to the store after you guys get back, and then that's going to be right in the middle of when I was doing things. So since you really aren't on a schedule, and you two aren't even ready to walk out the door yet, we're just going to run real quick. And then real quick ended up being us gone like 2 hours because things are spread out down here and it takes a little bit to get to where you need to go, and then 1 stop became 2 stops, became 3 stops, became 4 stops. So this grocery store was out of that. On the way to the other grocery store, we were like, oh hey, didn't you say you wanted something from Dollar Tree? And I was like, yes, I did. and then we ran into Dollar Tree, and then we had to go to the other grocery store, and then when we got there, they didn't have one of the two things I wanted, so then we had to come back home and go to the grocery store here in this town and see if they had it. And we don't regularly shop the grocery town or the grocery store in town here. It's kind of expensive compared to Walmart, and we're on a really tight budget, and they don't have like the same stuff that Walmart has a lot of the times. So I really don't want to pay that much more for stuff when it's not really what I wanted. But with the way the grocery stores have been lately, with who's out of what, we kind of have to play multi-tag grocery shopping depending on what we're trying to cook. I had key lime oil that I tried to put in my one wax melt that had kind of stopped smelling like what it was supposed to. It stopped throwing out the scent, but now I think I got the oil on my fingers, so I'm not sure if what I'm smelling is just off of my hands or if it's actually coming from the little bit that I did get in the wax melt. I probably should have had like a Ziploc bag over my hand or some gloves or something. Alright, so we had left off with putting in the fuzz on our mountain range here, the dark fuzz. So that's where we're going to pick up. Like, I can kind of smell it in the wax. So we will see if I can get this back to where it needs to go without spilling it everywhere. I really need an eyedropper for that bottle. We had to run to the Walmart Supercenter trying to get lunch meat because we don't really like the lunch meat counter at the other Walmart reasons, and the Supercenter's lunch meat counter was closed. I guess they didn't have enough staff, or someone went to lunch or something. I don't know. Russell said it looked like it had been closed all day. So I'm not really sure what that was about, but they had the bread flour that I needed that the smaller Walmart didn't. It just became quite the treasure hunt. But I got a new placemat. You see our background is different, so I picked up a new placemat from the Dollar Tree. So I was like, what do you need that for? I said my other one's nasty. The other one's been around for a while, and there's pieces of the laminate or whatever this is that covers my desk stuck to it on the back side of it because something had spilled and I didn't know it had spilled, and that became a whole thing. I was like, I just need a new one. And I'd had the other one. I don't know if it had been a year. I want to say at least 6 months. Probably longer, but at least 6 months. So, you know, it was time for a new one. And they're just thin little placemat thingies, so. And he got me my Valentine's Day gift while we were out. Which I know a lot of people would be like, that's a really weird Valentine's Day gift, but I got a bag of Ghirardelli dark chocolate and sea salt with caramel filled squares. That's so good. I've only had one. I've restrained myself. Had one for dessert after lunch. I don't normally eat lunch because I'm not normally awake for lunch. Usually my food throughout the day, I get up past noon normally. Depending on what time I managed to fall asleep. And so lunch I don't usually do, and breakfast I'm not awake for. Well, traditional breakfast times I'm not awake for, so I guess my breakfast almost becomes my dinner. Unless I have a quick snack before stream starts. Some days it's like a quick snack of like a string cheese stick or a bowl of cereal or a yogurt before I stream in the afternoon. And then my dinner is dinner could be anywhere from 6:30 to 8:30 by the time I'm done making it, depending on what we're having. So, and then, you know, a snack or two after dinner, depending on how fulfilling dinner was. But then again, I don't normally go to bed until sometimes midnight, 12:30 at the earliest, unless I'm really not feeling well. Or I've gone to bed as late as like 4:35 a.m. So depends on what I'm in the middle of and how much of an insomnia day it is being. So alright, so we're just getting our base mountain put in here. Oh right, so while we were at the Super Center, I was smelling some wax melts that they had. They're like from Better. Was it Better? Not Better Homes and Gardens, because that's a magazine. Although it could have been for them. It was Home and Garden, some brand, I don't know. Or the Mainstays brand, whatever it was from Walmart. They had a big, huge ass tub of them. And I can't do them. They all had like a perfume base to them. And it kind of made me mad because I was like, I can't do these. Every single one of them. They smell one way when they're in the package, but you know as soon as, depending on how strong the perfume base is, at least for me in my sensitivity issues, as soon as that gets warm, I know it's going to get 3 times stronger smelling in the sweet perfume base and just kind of smell chemically. And I can't do that. I was so mad. I was like, I really want to like this. But I can't. Like, I almost gave myself a headache over it because I was that mad because I really wanted another new scent. Like, even the cucumber melon had like a perfume underlying tone to it. I'm like, why can't we just have some natural smelling wax melts? Like, why can't we just have honeydew or straight up berry medley without any of this perfume base to it? Like, why can't it be like straight up like essential oil or, you know, extracts from it without all this artificial fake scent? And I can't do lavender at all. Especially not lavender and lilac comboed together. That is very, very bad for me. I know so many people love lavender. I can't. Oh, that's what scissors wanted. There was a lot lavender and lilac. I don't know if it was from Purex or one of those laundry detergent people, where it was like the scent pearls or whatever that the mother-in-law was so in love with, because she really loves the smelly things that all have like that perfume base. That's also been a point of contentiousness. Not contingency. Contention, I guess, that we've had. She loves her smelly shit, but so much of it triggers a migraine for me. But the lavender and lilac scent pearls that she had gotten for the dryer, or her fabric softener or something, actually made me have kind of like an asthma attack, and I was not known to be asthmatic. I was never tested for it, but that scent like made my throat close up, and I just started straight up coughing where I couldn't stop. Like, face got all red. Not exactly gasping for air, but it definitely wasn't a pleasant experience. And then she finally stopped bringing it home, but all the other times before then, it would make me cough and make my throat itch whenever she was doing laundry and I walked out there, and I kept asking her not to use that. And she'd be like, okay, and then she would turn around and do another load of laundry with it, and I'm like... But when Russell got pissed off when I had that episode, he like threw all of it out. And he's like, I'm done fucking around. I told you not to use it. Alright. Okay, so there's our dark base pretty much in. Okay, so for right now, we're gonna put the rest of our dark fluff back in its bag. I don't think we're quite done with it right now, but we'll at least put that there. So in our tutorial, we also have to lighten the mountain a bit. So I think the next color I have is camel, and that'll kind of be sort of our middle ground here. We'll see how this go. Sorry, my hair's all over. It was touching me. I was having a moment of, what's touching me? Alright. So, I'm not quite sure how we're gonna approach this. Alright, so we kind of want our light coming from different sides. I'm kind of looking at his. So right, he's actually got a bit of a dark section here. And about 2/3 of the way down. We've kind of got this little I don't know, he kind of left that one mostly dark. Alright, well, you know what? Let's start with this one. It'll be a little bit easier, I think, if we kind of have a little bit of a center starting point. So how far? Alright, so I think we're gonna kind of pull this I don't want it to be completely straight down. I think maybe this one might be a little bit jagged. As we try to figure out our highlights here and our lower lights. And again, it's not going to be completely matching his mountain, and that's more than fine. Number one, we're using a completely different medium, so it's going to be a little bit harder to match that. As well as you know, trying to get the shading kind of right where we want that to be. So we're gonna leave this a little bit wispy. Don't know quite how that's gonna turn out. So this looks like a lot lighter than I was hoping for it. Like, it didn't look that bad in the when it was all still wrapped up, it wasn't too dark. I kind of wish I'd had a slightly more middle ground brown, like something in between this one and the chocolate, but it's okay. We will make it work. One way or another. Alright, so I'm not going to be too fussy. I want the breaks in this. That will help add to it. Give it a more jagged feeling. Kind of feels like my tissue paper art to an extent. But I feel like I can get a little bit more involved with this one than we were with the tissue paper. So just kind of grab another wispy section here. Now I do want to try to keep it at least on the brown, so we don't get too carried away here. So we're not too into our pink sky with it. And that little dark patch back there, that's fine. That can be a dark patch there. Nothing wrong with that. Now, since the strands are a little bit thinner, they do take a little bit more going over just to make sure that I did hit them. Because my hand likes to hit every place but where I'm trying to hit. You all know how that goes. Alright, let's pull that up. Just kind of smooth out our back there. Okay. We'll grab some more of our... We found the cutest little thing up by the register at Dollar Tree. These little tiny trash buckets for your desk. Little trash lid. They've got the little wheels. That's where my little extra floofs are gonna live that we don't really need. So we're kind of putting in our, not exactly highlight color, like kind of like our middle color is what I'm gonna call it. So I do have a cream that we can come back over this with to kind of put some real highlights on this, but this was a little bit of a different mountain that he usually does. He usually does the dark shadowy color, like the dark base, and then he'll do his highlight color, and then sometimes he'll come in with like a bluer toned shadowy color. But this time he kind of went with this weird like sienna color. So it was a little different than how he does it, because he kind of did this sienna color, and then he kind of did a highlight color over top of this one, and then he kind of came back in with a little bit more of the base color and was trying to put shadows in with that. So I was a little confused as to why. I guess it was more of just like a brown mountain type situation. So I'm gonna kind of try to take our lighter brown as we're putting it on and kind of flow that in the direction of where we kind of want it to live. So like how he would do with the palette knives and creating the ridges and kind of trying to be like, okay, well this one's gonna stick out towards us, and then we're gonna put a shadow on it and push that one back, and we'll see if we can kind of convey the idea across. This is the first time I've really tried doing mountains with this felting stuff, so we'll see. It might not, you know, look too dead on to his, but we'll definitely give it a valiant go here. And I'm kind of okay with layering up in some spots. I do want a little bit of that darker brown kind of peeking through though. Kind of give the rocks a little bit more life to them, I guess. Let go of my fingers. Okay, like I don't want to turn this into a snake too hard. I definitely want a bit of the wispy, broken upness of it all. I want all of the little breaks and stuff. Just kind of gently trying to grab a few of the strands with the needle, just to where it looks like it's getting a little bit thick before I take that all the way down. Do that carefully, because you could potentially break your needle doing that. So you want to be gentle when attempting to pull that maneuver off. it's kind of like skin color toned when it's really stretched out. And I was like, where did it go? Did I drop it? Because I couldn't quite feel it. I also kind of want it to be a little bit more airy, I guess. Just to, school's out. There was kids walking through our yard, through the front yard. I heard voices. I'm like, where are they coming from? Because sometimes when you go through, it'll kind of condense the fibers a little bit. Like in there, it'll make them a little bit more stringy, thready. So I think it definitely wants a little bit more fluff going on in here. Along this edge, because I want this to be a little bit of a brighter edge. So we're not going to go too late today, because I am husband and I are eating together tonight, so I am cooking for both of us. That's gonna be like a little tiny shadowy crevice in there. I want that to remain a little bit darker. So we're not gonna use straight white, but I have a cream color that we can use to really put the highlights on here. Okay. Grab a little bit more of our wispy stuff here. Alright, so that one's going to be a little bit thicker, and that's okay. least want to get the this middle color in place before we start fussing too much with any highlighty colors. So apologies for those that are new here, the traffic reverberations are gonna happen. We live like 10, 20 feet off of the main road through town, and school just let out, and the corner street that we're closest to is where all of the cars turn in and out to head down to the school to pick up their kids and stuff. Not a whole lot I can do about that. And don't have the money for those soundproofy squares. Number one. Number two, even if I did, my cats are assholes. And they would probably shred them if they're down low enough to their level. Because they would probably have to be down low enough to do anything anyhow. Alright. Alright, just give me just a moment. Just stretching out my neck here. Yeah, like all of the things are going by now, being loud and obnoxious. Sorry if it looks like your channel links back to a specific couple that I know are bot channels. You're gonna get banned. And that was linking back to one of those like roving live webcam channels where the channel itself doesn't ever actually stream but is hosting another live cam channel. I don't have the time or the patience to deal with that. Especially when you're not even counting as a view in my chat, so just go ahead. Go about your way. There are way too many bots on Twitch, excuse me. Probably Twitter too, but way too many on Twitch. There's so many loud, heavy vehicles going by today. It sounds like a lot of like dump trucks. All of the sudden. Alright. Kind of looks like like layer cake or something with all the different layers we got going on in here, all the lines. Alright, I'm gonna snip that in half. Just kind of pull this apart a little bit more. I do want some of these breaks to be happening in our color. Okay. All right, let me snip that in there. Just make sure that we've got that area good and tamped down there. All right. So it's okay if you have a little bit of a thicker spot of color, that's fine. I might actually go back and thicken up some of those spots up higher. Not tremendously slow, but maybe just a little bit. Okay. Kind of getting this worked in here. Not sure what that was. Alright, so we'll probably add just a little bit more. Try and make sure that I don't have any other pieces started with this pulled off of it. There are a couple spots here where I would like to see that just a little bit thicker. Let go. Where did you go? Where did you go? Oh, okay, I think you're over there. Alright, so I'd like to be a little bit brighter in here. And you know, if you are doing this as well, I'd love to see what you're coming up with. It's always fun to see how somebody else sees the same thing that you're doing. At least I think it is. Because like Bob says, we all do see things a little bit differently. We interpret different colors and placements and whatnot, and even though we're not doing a direct copy, we're trying to be somewhat close, but it would still be pretty neat to see what you guys are doing. So if you are following along with this in your own medium of choice, whether that's colored pencil, crayon, pastels, watercolors, acrylic paint, oil paint, I would still love to see. So feel free to tag me on Twitter or Instagram. It's NiseyBGN on both places. This has just sort of become my new obsession with the whole fiber art stuff. It's a little bit delicate at times, and in other times it's not. It's kind of like embroidery, but it's not. I love the textures of it. Okay, that kind of came off on its own, that's fine. Got a couple little wispy guys there that weren't really attached to anything. Okay, so that's piece of cat hair. Never know what you're gonna find mixed in around here. I think I want that just a bit more solid, I think. Let's get our unprotected finger out of the way there. We've seen what can happen. So let's try to make sure that we are remembering to take safety first. Alright, and I think I want a little bit more in here, and maybe a little bit more in that section. So this is definitely a part where you kind of have to play with it. Definitely take your time. You don't want to rush it, because then, you know, trying to rush through something, you do risk not liking the way some things come out. So if you're going to take the time to put the effort in, you might as well take the time to get something that you're happy with. Kind of thing, you know? Alright. So, I'm thinking, did I use that other little guy that I had cut? I must have. Nope. I got a little guy up here. Okay. So when we come back in with our highlights here, I'm gonna have to make sure that we're kind of putting them in the correct places. Ooh, careful there. Careful there, Mr. Needle. Okay. Let me just re-flatten out this on the back. You don't have to do that, I just do. I don't know, I feel like I still want this a little bit, not a whole lot, but I feel like I want it a little bit thicker. I'm not trying to kill all of our dark little ridges and stuff. I'm just not sure that I'm completely satisfied with where all of the light spots are. Though I'm getting there. I am getting there with it. We will be there with it soon. Oh, I was just gonna have to go get the husband. Because his phone buzzed for some reason. Your phone just buzzed, and I don't know why.
I'll find out in a minute.
Don't know if it was your mom or if it was Tyler.
Might have been Tyler, because it looks like I have a message on Discord from him. Yeah, it was Tyler.
Just trying to find where all of the loose ends are at the moment. Make sure that we are all good and attached there. Looks much different on the back side than it does on the front. Alright, so I have this cream color, and it kind of looks similar to the highlight that Bob uses. Oh, we're gonna lose this on the light background down there. Alright, I'm gonna just grab some small pieces of this. I'm gonna cut this in half to start with. Alright, now I'm gonna try to tack this in up here. On the edge as best as I can. Kind of see how it goes for doing our brighter highlights here. We're gonna have to make sure we don't get too carried away with this one, like this shade. We don't lose all of our lighter brown to it underneath. There are going to be some spots where it's a necessary thing that's gonna happen. That's just the way of things. Had some yellow from the sky trying to poke through a gap that formed down there. I think we'll be able to hide that because there's a tree line that's going to come in, like kind of sitting in here. I did have to look ahead just a little bit. So I wanted to figure out how far down we needed to go. Where was our bottom? Where did we want to bottom this one out? I'm just kind of making sure that everybody's still attached and where they need to be. The wispier the stuff is, though, the harder it is to kind of keep your hands on it. Ow, 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 ow. Just hit my elbow. Didn't even hit it that hard. Dang. Well, that sucks. Now the elbow's all angry. It was quite a delayed reaction there, too. Now I might break out the big needle just to make sure that everybody's loose ends here are all attached and stuff. Alright, so we're getting some of our lighter highlights kind of worked in here. Okay. So it's probably not going to look anything like Bob since we're going a bit thinner here. You can kind of start to see some of that working in a bit. And there might be spots where we thicken that up a little. Where we need to in places. Okay. This feels like it still might be a little bit thick. But let's see what we can do here. With this section. It's like we still want it to break a little bit so you can kind of see some of the crevices and whatnot underneath. Alright, so I'm gonna kind of try to spread this one out just a little bit. Doesn't have to be full on exact. Alright, so let me refluff and flatten the back there just to keep us looking pretty good. Alright, so this strand's a little bit thicker than I necessarily want. I don't know what that is inside that fluff, but that can get out of there. Okay. Gonna work on tacking down in those spots. Don't get too spread out. And we can always come back in and add a little bit more of that light brown color. If we think we need it. I'm not fully sure if I think we do yet. I know we still have some looser strands in there, but hit the other elbow. Okay, at least, well, they're evenly matched now. All right. So I do kind of want to try to keep a little bit of our cream colored highlights kind of wispy like the lighter brown, so that we can kind of see the brown under the white in spots. I think for something like this, where we don't really have paint to work with, and it's kind of hard to get those breaks in our fiber here. I think it's important that we try to keep this at least in some spots a bit more like cloud, fluffy, wispy. Okay. Those two little poof balls, put them over there. They were like so minuscule you couldn't even really see them. At least not very well. Okay. And this is a little bit thicker than I necessarily wanted to be. Now remember, I'm trying to keep with the lines that I've kind of already established to a degree here. I mean, they're sort of there. A little bit of a darker crevice in there. And I have a little bit of dark gray or black that I could take into there just to kind of get the point across that that's a darkery recessed shadow area. I know darkery isn't really, probably not a real word. We could add that to the Nisey. I mean, darker is, but I don't think darkery. I'll add it to the Nisey vocab list. Okay, and I definitely want to grab that big one, I think, to kind of as like my finishing guy for that section. Oh, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Alright, let me grab my I kind of feel like the dark gray might not be dark enough. So let me grab the black from my color stash here. Don't need a lot. Ah, get over there. Thank you. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. Just to kind of help establish that is a bit recessed in there. And like with the others, I'm going to try to keep that a little bit more open. I might come back with a little bit of the lighter brown. We'll see what this looks like once we get that all tapped in. I shall have to alert because it's late for me and I have work tomorrow's, but looking good. Oh, thank you very much. I hope you have a good day at work tomorrow. Thank you for the lurk. I appreciate it. And I thank you for stopping by. Oh yeah, no, we don't need to add any more of the dark brown, but I do like that little hint of black that we added in there. Just kind of definitely marks a recessed area. And just kind of flatten that out a little bit. I think maybe we'll bring just a little bit more of it. I don't want to go too much. Too much would be bad. But maybe just a little bit more of that. I'm just trying to grab a couple of strands just to spread out where it's anchoring down into there. Because remember, we are going to have a little bit of a tree line here that's going to poke up a little bit. Oh, and now the house phone's going to ring. And that's just gonna have to ring, I'm sorry. By the time I disentangle myself to go answer it, yep, somebody else will have gotten it. Alright. Okay, I'm kind of liking that so far. Alright. Now, I think we'll work on this guy over here. So let me make sure I try to keep my colors straight. We'll stick the cream back in its bag rather. I don't really have these in boxes. Alright, so I'm gonna start to get this a little bit figured out here. Get some anchor points down that we have to work with. Kind of get our shadowy kind of valley in between these two figured out. And we'll get our shadow color in there in just a minute. Just figure out the placement of our edge here. as best as we can. Oh, wow. That was a pickup truck. Some of the people around here like to modify their vehicles, like put them up on the raised chassis and frames, and we have a brick building directly across the street from us. So when they go by on the don't be doing anything silly over there. When they go by, it kind of echoes a bit and makes it sound a bit more obnoxious than it needs to be. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a little bit more of our black here. Kind of grabbing a couple of the extra strands here. And trying to work in that shadowy area. As best as we can. Without snapping our needle like we did the one day. Although the one day I didn't snap it doing this. I snapped it doing something else. So we probably shouldn't have been doing what I snapped it doing with the needle in my hand. And one of these days I'll learn to not hold the needle in my hand doing that, maybe. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just deluding myself that I'm gonna remember not to do that. Entirely possible as well. But we did learn the importance of safety with your needles that day. And how if you're gonna be right up down in there with your face next to it, you should probably have safety glasses. Nothing flew at my face, and my face wasn't down that close to it, but, you know, still, be careful. You don't have to do this step, I'm just doing it just to kind of get things a little bit flattened out. Keeps things from being a little too uneven on the front here. For me, at least. Alright, so we'll grab a little bit more of our black color here. I'll just finish getting our shadowy color worked in here. I kind of want to make sure that we are good and stuck in here. So that way the black's not floating on the top. And it's kind of melding into our brown there, just to give it a little bit more of a mottled look. Not model, but mottled, variegated. So it's not just the black, you can see a little bit of the brown coming up through there. At least in person you can. I'm not sure how well that's translating through the camera, because it just kind of all looks dark to me through my preview for that spot. Alright. Okay, so this might be a little bit thicker than I was originally wanting, but that's alright. I think as long as we get it stretched out a bit here, that'll probably be okay. And it's gonna do what it wants to do in certain places. I mean, you can kind of manipulate and maneuver it around a little bit, but in the end, it's still gonna do what it wants to do. Now this side probably should have been a little bit more shadow, so I probably kind of fussed that up just a little bit. But at the same time, I kind of wanted this ridge to sit a little bit more forward. Then that one, but that's okay, because you know what? We'll grab our chocolate, right? Our chocolate wool, not our, well, it's acrylic yarn. I can't even really call it wool. We'll grab our chocolate fiber. That works. And kind of bring this back into play. So we might see a little bit of a lighter brown in there. Kind of peeking out around the corner. And that's okay. it'll be alright. Because it'll still look a little bit lighter. Than some of our other spots. We might have to bring just a little bit more down that edge there. And we could even bring a little bit of that black back in. Just a little bit down the side there. I think it's okay that we still have a couple of light ridges showing up. That should be fine. Oh, for Christ's sake. Okay, you guys give me 1 second. Alright, sorry guys. My dad needed something apparently, and I don't know where the husband vanished to. Let me message him real quick. I hope everybody is having a good day. Less hectic than mine is, I hope. It's like it never fails. Like you're doing something and then like you've told the people that you're doing the thing. But yet the people still find a way to need your assistance. So if we kind of do it this way. I don't even know if the husband's gonna get my message. Because when he's in the bedroom in the back of the house, for some reason the Wi-Fi is not always reliable with his phone. Like, Discord likes to not put the messages through all the time. Alright, and maybe we'll kind of stretch that out into there, and I'm okay with a little bit of our lighter brown poking through there. Kind of gives us a little bit more of a shadowy recessed area. I'm kind of toying with, do I want just a little bit of light hitting that section? We could take a little bit of the lighter brown maybe and kind of hit up that spot. Now, Bob didn't use any black in his, but he can also blend some of the colors so that he can get like the darker pieces of the mountain here kind of a little more obvious, shall we say. And, you know, you definitely want to take your time with it. Because you'll end up with something that you're a bit happier with. For sure. Okay. Sorry, I had to message him again, and the monitor that the tutorial is sitting on, even though I have that supposed to be capturing just the tutorial, likes to pick up the Discord window at times. Now, this is also the first time I've attempted to do the AKA Bob Ross mountain range in this medium. I don't hate it, but I definitely see where we need to practice it. But I don't not like it. Like, it's hard to describe. Alright, so I'm going to take just a little bit of our light color here. Just a little bit. It's not our lightest light color either, just a little. Just want to get a little tiny bit of light sitting in this spot. We'll probably have to do just a little bit more. Although, I don't know. That might be good. That might be a little bit good, so have that kind of shadowed in the background there a little bit. I just want to get a little bit more of our chocolate brown worked into that black there. It felt a little too dark, I think. The dark is too dark, but just a touch. Alright, and then we'll start to get into our light on this other side. Okay. I think we might go grab our big needle here, or our big sets of needles. So this is the one I don't really use all that much, because it is a big boy, and he's a little bit heavier and a little bit more awkward. Like, I don't know what gauge these needles are. They don't feel like they're smalls though. Well, they could be, but they feel like maybe they're more of like a medium gauge. And I kind of really only use this one for coming back and just trying to make sure that all of the little guys are in place. Stragglers off the edge there. But I don't normally use him all that much. I mean, some people would probably prefer, because I mean, once you get your base stuff down, it would probably go a little bit faster. I think maybe I would rather have like a 3 needle and a 3 or 4 needle instead of the 8. think that one's 8. 6 or 8. I'm not a huge fan of it. Alright, so let's start to... Okay, I'm gonna turn this a little bit. Just until I get our edge sorted here. Kind of hard to see where I'm at. I'm just kind of making sure that we are good and anchored on the edge here. Like, I don't want our lighter mountain color up in our sky. Not even touching our mountain if we can help it. Okay, just getting our edge color here. And then I'll tilt this back the way it should be in just a moment. Start to figure out the light side of this guy. Oh, let go. See, that one really wanted to be attached to us. Alright. So I know that's kind of off our edge of our piece here. And that's fine. I kind of want to be off the edge just a little bit, just to make sure that when, because this edge here, this exposed green section, we're going to be coming back and trimming that off when we're all done. So it's definitely the edge section. Just cleaning up everything, and just want to make sure that we are good and anchored so we don't lose anybody. We shouldn't. Nobody else has of the other projects that we've done so far. We are all good and in place. might take some of this lighter color up into that a little bit further, maybe. We'll see what strikes me as we get there. All right. So now we have to wonder how long it's going to be before Discord decides to put my message through. Dear the husband, there's times where he doesn't ever get the message. Or that's what he says. Discord sometimes disconnects from his phone for some reason. He'll probably come back out here like in a half an hour and I'll say the thing and he's like, what are you talking about? Our back bedroom is so bad for reception. At least with his phone. We really need to replace his phone. Because it's definitely taken a few knocks even with the armor on it. And it's starting to get a little silly. But I don't think we can for a few more months. We have to find it out on the cell phone plan. When the replacement rolls over. Because him and his mom are both on the same plan. And they get 2 phone replacements per X amount of time. But she used both of them over the past year. Like over 2021. Like, I don't know how. She did something to the phone. I don't know if she dropped it or what. But the screen would not come on. And then after she went back up to New Hampshire with her sister, she jumped into the pool and forgot she had the phone in her pocket. And I'm like, how? Okay, it wasn't in her pants pocket. It was, or in her shorts pocket. It was somewhere else, but, ladies, you know probably where it was for those that don't always carry purses. I like to tuck things in other places. It was tucked in there. In the upstairs one, not the downstairs one. And, I hope nobody tucks anything in the downstairs one. That's creepy. But, I'm like, how do you not remember? How do you not feel a cell phone moving around in there before you jump into a pool? Okay? How? Like, it's gotta be sliding around, or at least the weight of it there, like, so she ended up having to use both of the phone replacements because they couldn't fix that phone, the second one, And the thing that kills me was, it was within a month of her replacing it to begin with. And I'm like, really? I looked at Russell and I said, you better not drop that phone. Because if something happens to that, we're fucked until the phone replacement turns around. Because we can't afford a new one. Alright, I'm gonna fan that out just a little bit. You know what, let me grab the big guy. I think we've got enough coverage going now where we can start to use him a little bit more. In spots. I really don't like him though. He attaches stuff a little bit differently than the other one, which is why I feel like it's a different gauged needle. Alright, let me just pop that guy up off of there. Reflatten. Alright. I'm gonna keep coming down this edge here with our lighter color. Right. This kind of worked in here. It's okay to have some thicker spots than others, because each one's going to look a little bit different. I don't want them too different, but they don't have to be completely identical, and they're not. I mean, it's kind of hard to make that happen, but oh, I still had a little bit of this fuzz over here. Alright, start to work that in now to kind of have some anchor points in place that I'm happy with. I will say, if you do try this, you might want to get a different type of mat than the foam ones, unless it's like a soft foam, because basic styrofoam is gonna be very scritchy, and by that I mean like that. That actually makes my ears hurt, so I'm using a actually a felt mat. a felt mat for needle felting. It's made out of other felts and some kind of filler in the middle. The reviews on it were kind of so-so. I haven't had too much problem. Like, I had seen a few things that they were talking about in a couple of the not so desirable reviews, but you know, it's been doing what I need it to do, which is all that I was really worried about. So and I just got mine off of Amazon. So I'm just kind of fanning this out and just lightly scraping those loose fibers that haven't been tacked down yet. Over into here. Kind of looks like a bit of a fake spider web at Halloween time, but that should be alright. Okay, just gonna grab a little bit of our light color. And figure out where we want our lightest of highlights to be. Alright, get that good and worked in there. So I really don't want that just kind of sitting on the surface. Like in some spots where it's thicker, that's fine. But I don't necessarily want all of it sitting on the surface. I would prefer to have some of that tucked in. All right. And I do want to try to keep some of the brokenness in the fiber strands, so that way we can see some of our lighter brown like we did in here. Maybe just a little bit more pulled off of that. It's kind of giving us an anchor point there. And I kind of want some of this dark brown showing through in some places. Because it's not really quite dark enough to need the black in there for the really deep shadows, but definitely some small cracks and crevices. Going on up in there. Okay. All right, let me get that sorted out. All right, so let's grab a little bit more wispiness. All right, sorry about that. Had to do something real quick. All right, so let's kind of get this put into here. Oh, that's a little. A little straight in there, but that should be all right. I'm just gonna kind of, when they're wispy and extra spread out, they definitely get a little unruly there. They're like, I do what I want. All right. good spread out section in there. I also don't want it like too tiger stripey either, so have to keep an eye on that. Maybe we take a little bit more of our light brown fluff. Oh, hey, Zorts. Yeah, we gotta get that, that raid one done with the flamingo noises set up. Thanks for the raid. Hello, friends. Or at least Zorts' friends. Hello. Oh, thank you for the follow. We do a variety of things here, from games to I don't like how thick that is, from games to art. Today, instead of Minecraft, we decided to do some arty things. Working on a needle felted rendition of a Bob Ross painting, kind of following one of his tutorials as best as we can, with a medium that it was not done in, so we have some challenges to face, but we're slowly getting those figured out. Today's challenge is trying to figure out how to do the Bob Ross Mountains. Oh, thank you for the host as well, sir. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you for the follow, Tig. If I may call you that. If not, let me know. And I will call you the full name. So we're just gonna get a little bit more of that lighter brown tapped in there. Like, I've seen people on YouTube follow the Bob Ross tutorials blindfolded, or with this, with what he's doing, like facing a different way, so you're kind of just doing it by guess. Or I've even seen somebody on YouTube follow one of his tutorials, except instead of paint they used like cake frosting. And I was like, oh my. I think they were like making buttercream frosting as they went, or something along those lines. That had to be a lot of work, and quite the mess. When everything was said and done. I just hope after all that it didn't like fall off of the canvas when it dried. Like, I hope it didn't crumble. That was the one thing I was worried about when I saw them doing it. I was like, oh, that would kill me, putting that much time and effort into doing it with cake icing just for it to like crumble right off of the canvas after it dried. Don't know if it did, but I am curious to know if it did. Wool painting, never heard of this. Yeah, most people use roving, wool roving, and it's just kind of like dyed fiber, and you get these little special needles. This is one of them, and this is a larger set. We don't use that one very much. You can, some people do wet needle felting. I've never tried that one. For that one, I think you would definitely have to use the wool roving. I am using a wool roving substitute because I needed so many colors, and my bank account was not going to let that happen if we did it with actual roving. So I got a whole bunch of acrylic yarn, which you can use as a substitute, on sale. Like 50% off sale. So I got acrylic yarn, just, you know, regular scarf yarn. And you cut some strands and you take a sticker brush to it that you would use on your pet to get like their undercoat out for the double coated dogs. And then when you take the brush to it, it turns into this stuff. And then you can put that stuff down, punch it with the needle through just a piece of felt, like from the craft store, and you can turn it into paintings. Some people do little animal sculptures or figurines, like 3D pieces. But we've done that one not that long ago. That's a 4x4. And then this is one I did off of stream of a lighthouse. So like when we're all done, I'm just gonna trim up the edges so the overhang's all gone. I still have to get these into a frame. They're gonna live in my Ziploc bag of protection until I get said frame. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I don't have to worry about my paint drying on me, which is always a plus. Because I'm a bit of a slow painter, and a lot of the times my paint likes to dry out on me before I'm done. You do have to have some kind of pad underneath of what you're working on, because if you don't, then your needle's going to go through and hit your surface and break, or bend. So I'm using a felt pad. Oh, hey, there's some of that brown that went missing. It stuck to the side of the pad. I'm using a felt mat, a felting mat. You can use styrofoam. Some kits with the needles come with a styrofoam pad. I don't recommend styrofoam if your ears are sensitive. Ear warning right now for those that are wearing earbuds, you might want to turn down just a little. So if you're using foam, it's scritchy and scratchy. So that's what it sounds like on a foam pad. I'm using a felt pad and it's a lot softer. Ear warning over, you can go back to normal volume now. I'm using a felt pad and it's a lot gentler. This kind of sounds like somebody walking through the snow instead of that ear piercing, itchy, scratchy nonsense. That the foam pads are. Is that my? Well, it stopped now, but...
I mean, it probably is. She keeps doing that every time I walk away. That's why I spend so much time with her.
You're gonna be driven mad when your mother leaves with all of the shenanigans between her and Cal, but at least Cal will go lay down eventually. Sorry, there's two cats we have to keep separated because they do not get along. We had one really bad cat fight where the one cat was like, oh, let me out of here, and the other one's like, no! Let's do this, let's fight, let's rumble, and it was not pretty to try to break up, and so we've learned that we have to keep them separated, so we kind of rotate them out throughout the day, who's gotten time out and who needs to go chill out in the one bedroom. I mean, Russell sleeps in that bedroom when his mom's away, so that the cats don't get stir crazy. So I mean, they do get attention and stuff and time with people, whether they're in there or not. It's just his mom was out for a little bit, so she was in there by herself and she was getting a little fussed, shall we say. But yeah, so we're working on our mountains slowly for this part of the tutorial. And they don't quite look like Bob Ross mountains. I think the only way to really pull off the genuine Bob Ross mountains would be with paint, but you know, we're giving it a valiant effort. Trying to keep our fibers wispy so we can see the breaks and the colors underneath. Since, you know, we can't really blend, it'll just look like different colored strands. It's about as blendy as we can get. Oh, and I've got fiber fluff sticking everywhere. I get hitchhikers when I'm working on a project and I get up to leave and I'm in the other room and I look down and I'm like, oh, that's where that chunk of fiber went that I thought I had lost somewhere. So I try to only keep a certain amount out on the table at a time. And we are actively working on it. That doesn't look too bad. I think, you know, this guy on the edge here, he's being a little, as all of the fluff goes flying, he's being a little stubborn. I think I want to actually come back into our medium, well, not really medium, it's kind of like our lighter brown. I wish I'd had a medium brown, but I didn't quite have the funding for that, so we ended up with this one. We can only get so many colors. I think I want to bring you down into here. I feel like it needs a little bit of something along the front here of this section. Just to spread it out a bit. So yeah, on Wednesdays right now, probably for like the next, I don't know, 5 to 6 months, we'll be working on WoW Challenges Challenger tunes through, I don't know, maybe June. Depends on how much time I have to take off and when I get my surgery done on my mouth, which keeps looking like it has to keep getting pushed back because finances and reasons and things, and like part of me is glad it's getting pushed back because I really don't want to do it, but on the other hand, I really need to get it done, and the longer I push it back, the more I'm flirting with disaster. So yeah, it depends on when that happens and how much I've gotten done in the meantime and how fucked up I am and how long I'm fucked up afterwards. So, but Wednesdays will be WoW Challenges Wednesdays for the next several months for the most part. I play mostly the Bloodthirsty challenge out of the challenges that they offer. I do a tiny bit of Iron Man, and a little bit of pacifist questing from time to time, or leveling rather. But we do that on Wednesdays for WoW, usually, at least right now. Thursdays we do anything from Stardew Valley to Minecraft to art stuff. This week we decided to do art stuff instead. Husband was kind of Stardew Valley'd out for the moment because we were working on a co-op game, so we're taking a little bit of a break on that right now. And you know, that's the way those things go sometimes. So, and I really wasn't feeling Minecraft today. This is my new pet project obsession, so that's kind of what I wanted to work on there. Challengers aren't being recorded on the site right now. Zaya has stepped up, and he's one of the mods. He has a little bit of coding knowledge from what he used to do for a living, but he's having to learn the language that the site was coded in. And he's finding potential areas where we think, or where he thinks the current bugs might be coming from. I'm just gonna pull a little bit of that off. And so that's good. It's a start. He's making notes. He doesn't have access to try to change anything yet. And there's a slight issue with them trying to get into where some of that information is, so he can try to look at stuff with one of the other coders there to, you know, help him test some things. It seems to be tied into the issue that we currently have with uploading the MP3s for the show. Well, we're not really affiliated with Blizzard. So, they know of us. They very much know of us. But there's been so many API changes, and like the new API that came in with Shadowlands was apparently, from what I'm hearing, an effing nightmare. Compared to what it was previously. Like, almost everything was changed, from my knowledge, from what I was told. And so a lot of stuff had to get redone, and we didn't realize that the gear bug was there when we thought the tracking was good to go. So we'll see what happens when we get that straightened out, to see if any level 60s are gonna get hit with a red flag once the gear tracker gets fixed. We will see. I know I'm clean, and that if I do get hit with a flag, it's gonna be because a grandfathered exception got lost in the shuffle. Because I don't really fuck around with that. If I fuck up, I own it. I've fucked up on stream before, and I'm like, oh shit, we just did that. I can't believe I just did it. So, and I obsessively check my gear constantly. So I know I'm good. But Zaya was looking at some stuff in there, and he was like, well, we might have an issue. And I'm like, oh shit. I don't know what we're gonna do. It depends on how severe that issue is. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I suppose. But once they get the oh, thank you. I'm trying to get the depth in there. It's kind of working to a degree. It's a little time consuming, but we're trying. I think maybe right in there. But you know, right now our biggest problem is Lita getting in to upload the MP3s. We have them. We can't upload them to where they're supposed to go. That's what she's trying to get sorted between FileZilla help and one of the coders is trying to help her, and Russell was trying to help her the one night because she didn't understand what they had wanted her to do, so he was trying to walk her through it and realized what they wanted her to do was really complicated for what was going to be involved, and they gave her something else to try. He's supposed to try to help her with that this coming weekend, because he didn't have the chance to help her figure that out this past weekend. So we'll see. But how hard it would... Yeah, I know, but the website's kind of a hot mess at the moment with all of the different code languages. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot. And because Alminia tried to configure Stone's code to something easier when he redid the website, right? So then I guess whoever took it over after Elminia had to bounce suddenly due to health reasons, I don't think they were really all that fluent in the language that Elminia used. That was supposed to be a little bit easier. I guess it's easy if you know it, and then if you don't, it's not. I guess it's just, you know, one of those things. It's like way too much. So then in the process of all of Elminia bouncing, the website had to get moved to a different host. And oh, the poor website's had such a go of it lately. And then once it finally did get settled in, then we were trying to get stuff sorted for Shadowlands and trying to figure out the API changes and try to conform with the new state of California rules about data and how long it can be kept on your website. That was fun. I don't know if they ever fully got that figured out. I'm not so certain, judging by the last time I saw stuff on there, but maybe that was an indication that something wasn't working as it should. Don't know. Not a coder. I just try to muddle my way through WordPress. And that's bad enough. It's bad enough when I'm sitting there yelling, trying to figure out HTML code and why something's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I don't even have to do that much in HTML. There's a couple of spots for the website where I am copying, pasting key bits of information into HTML to change it out. I do bare minimum for that. But Zaya is actively in there looking. I can tell you that much. So I'm looking at that as a step in the right direction. And, you know, we're trying. I promise we are. If I understood the language that was used, I would try to look and help them, but I have enough trouble reading off the correct number for the kills for my bloodthirsties. Trying to put them in the right number order. Oh my god, I had a dream the other night. Was it last night? That I was back working in retail, doing cash office, and somehow someone was missing like $150, and I was trying to help them find it, and then we thought we had found it where a check was put in for the wrong amount, and then we put the check to the side because somebody else was gonna have to come in and look at it and confirm that that's where the missing money was, that it wasn't really missing, and we sat it to the side, and then we couldn't find it, and then we were all like panicking because we couldn't find where we had sat it to the side to. It had like just up and vanished. And then I woke up and I don't know whatever happened to it, so that's fun, and I had completely forgot about it till just now. I actually had that happen once. It wasn't that amount of money. Had I known how dyslexic I was, I probably would have turned down the cash office position. I don't know how I muddled through that. I think my way of coping is to go a bit slower, which management wasn't always happy about. And they're like, "You're still not done yet?" And I'm like, dude, do you want it done? Or do you want it done right? We're talking about money that's not mine. I am not going to fuck this up. You know, it's like, no. I mean, I can have it done in like 15 minutes, but it's not going to be right. There's gonna be all kinds of typos all over this shit. Alright, so I think we want a little bit more of our dark color, but I kind of want maybe a spot of light kind of poking through. Maybe it's kind of raised up a little bit. Like maybe right in there. Don't want it too thick. Don't want it too thick. Let's try to thin that out a little. Fan those fibers out. You know, it might have been why I was so anxious about money today. Because we went out to the store to grab a couple of things, and I was like so worried about the money. I mean, I worry about money a lot, but I was like being so much extra about it today, and that might have been why. Though I will say, there was plenty of frozen pizza at the Walmarts that we were at today. Had to go to 2 to find bread flour, though, which I thought was fucking fascinating. And I wasn't real thrilled about that, but I needed the bread flour because we're gonna do a lot of pizza this month. You know, I kind of like that. I wasn't so sure that we were doing something that was gonna work, but you know what? I'm kind of digging that. Let's try to get those little tiny wisps worked in there. And then maybe we'll add a little bit more black just in like here, just a tiny bit, in the hopes that we can try to push that back down a little. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Let go. Let's see what we can do. If I can cut this without cutting my finger. I make Russell so nervous with how I cut stuff in the kitchen, or at least when I'm cutting cheese. Like, he can't watch me, and I'm like, he's like, don't pull it toward you like that, and I'm like, you don't seem to understand. Whenever I cut it going away from me, then I have problems. I'm a half-assed backwards little muffin. I had to have him help me make my grilled cheese and my grilled cheese with turkey earlier when we got home. Cause it was being a little weird. Like, I used shredded cheese instead of slice, so it was taking a minute for the cheese to melt and for everything to stick to itself. And then I was trying to flip it, and I was like, can you come help me? And he's like, what? And I was like, I need help flipping my sandwich. And he kind of looked at me funny, and I'm like, trust me, I tried. And the pan kept kind of, the bottom's a little warped, so it kept kind of trying to shift while I was trying to flip it. I was like, either you need to, like, come here and hold the pan still, or I just need you to flip it while I hold the pan still. But something needs to happen help-wise here. Oh, I'm still getting the chills. She holds the blade facing herself and pulls. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I get nervous.
Well, I've tried cutting away from me before and cut my fingers, so...
Well, you could put it down on a plate like a sane human.
Nah.
Instead of holding a block and carving away at it like a monkey.
It was easier for me.
I do recognize that I am saying this as she stabs felt with a needle near her thumb.
I have a
Trust me,
doodle.
I'm nervous about that too.
I have a thing on. Although the one day it went through the thing, but... I'm good. Hey, I'm not cutting baby carrots right now. With my thumb trying to hold them in place, we're all good. That was a hell of a day. I probably should have went to the emergency room for that one. Not gonna lie. But, I was not home, and my roommate wasn't home. So I had to try to fix it myself. Like, I wasn't in, like, at my house home. I was at the apartment. So I'm thinking maybe we bring a little bit more of that cream color. Just a little bit down into here. There's a reason why we got the paper cutter. Or the paper trimmer for the tissue paper. And I didn't end up getting the guillotine one. I really wanted the guillotine one. It would have been a lot faster, but between cost and me being a little unsure of a potential accident, I was like, yeah, maybe we'll just get the safety one. I mean, you can still probably cut yourself on that blade, but the blade's protected to a degree. A lot better than the guillotine paper cutters are. Alright, just kind of get this worked in here. Got a little thick on me than I wanted it to be, but you know, figure it out. So can you still smell the lime?
I can't smell a damn thing right now.
Okay. Like, I can, but I'm not sure if it's still on my hands or if it's coming from the thingy. We had taken my key lime oil that we had, and I added a few drops to the wax that I had gotten as a scented wax melt that kind of reached its burn time, where the scent kind of wasn't really given off anymore, unless you were like nose deep in it. So I took some of that and dropped a few drops into there. I think it was about 4 or 5. I really want to get an eyedropper for that bottle, but I don't know where to get an eyedropper that will fit that bottle.
I mean, arguably any eyedropper we can find would fit in that bottle.
True.
It just wouldn't, you couldn't screw it on to seal it, is all.
True. Probably find it on Amazon. Find just about everything on Amazon. Yeah, I cut cheese strange, but I cut a lot of things strange, and it usually ends up with me just saying, here, cut this. He has a sharp knife of doom that I don't use for reasons. I usually don't even wash it. I've had to recently, because circumstances dictated so, but alright, I'm gonna turn this just for a minute. Sorry, you guys. Just trying to make sure that I don't end up halfway into the sky again, like we had to do on the other one, so just bear with me here. probably not gonna make the shadow section on this one that thick. Take that way. Okay. I didn't realize we're that close to the edge there. Alright. Now, look, big guy. You go over there. You're dangerous. You know what? He came with his own little bubble wrap. And as much as I love to pop bubble wrap, we're not popping the bubble wrap on that one. He needs to keep that. Of this, I fully recognize. Alright. Did they get back yet?
Yes, they're back.
Got a straggler here. Okay. That's aside. Deal with him later. But, oh yeah, I never did finish our stream schedule. Okay, so we're pretty sure I have some form of ADHD, so you guys have to bear with me. If I stop in the middle of something and don't come back to it, and you wanted to hear the rest of it, just poke me and say, hey, you didn't finish the thing. So, my thoughts sometimes derail, well, more often than not. So I do apologize if I do that. Feel free to poke me and say, hey, the thing, finish the story. And so, yeah. And because sometimes I don't remember till like 6 hours later when I am off stream and going to bed, and I'm like, I never finished saying the thing. So, I don't leave you guys hanging on purpose. But, yeah, stream schedule. I never quite finished that. But we talked about Thursday, and I didn't finish. So yeah, I didn't feel like doing Minecraft today, so we worked on an extra art stream. Fridays, I tend to do Planet Zoo, or, right now we're working on Parkitect. We'll be doing Parkitect tomorrow, for sure. We're gonna hop into the next, scenario, or campaign, or whatever the hell they're calling it. By the way, I did try to go back and get that optional goal on another playthrough of that tutorial that we were working on before we ended last week, and I missed it by like 50 guests, and I was so mad. So, I mean, we didn't have to get that optional goal, but I was just seeing if I could, because I didn't have anything else going on at that moment. I was kind of pissed about that, but you know, what can you do? But we will be working on the next scenario with that for tomorrow. So yeah, Fridays are normally, I don't know, like Planet, we haven't done Planet Coaster on the channel, and we might at some point. When we get tired of Parkitect, we'll probably go back to Planet Zoo for a bit, go back to our franchise zoo, or maybe we'll start a new one. I kind of want to start a new one because they put in some new stuff that I kind of want to add in. But we'll see. And I still owe you guys some Flamingo Falls action for the YouTube channel. It's just Mondays I would usually work on recording for Flamingo Falls. However, working on the challengers has been taking me quite a while. Especially now that we've got the monk back in Shadowlands. And she's taking quite some time to level. That 10-hour rested level from 56 for 57 actually took me like 2 different days to try to sit there and get through. So I haven't had time to get back to Flamingo Falls yet. I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do next. I think I know. I think I've figured that out. Might be doing like a desert building, since I started putting in, I think camels were the last animal video that went up for that one. I think we're gonna do fennec foxes next, maybe do like a desert building over there, or maybe put in some exhibits. We don't have any exhibit animals yet in that zoo. That's my sandbox zoo. Now that one I haven't streamed. That one has been recorded only and posted to the YouTube channel. It's the same name here as it is on YouTube, NiseyBGN. Once in a while you'll see something pop up there that we have not done on stream. And the main reason why I've been doing Flamingo Falls off of stream is that I've been trying to actually take my time, put the details in, since I don't have to worry about is X, Y, and Z researched, and I don't have to worry about a dollar limit on that map, or that build rather. That's what we've been doing over there. Okay, so we do have some loose stragglers here. So on this stuff, sometimes, oh, this is gonna sound weird, but if you see me like rubbing the top of it, I'm not fully obsessed with how it feels, though I do like the fuzzy texture of it. I'm trying to see if there's any loose fibers that didn't get tacked down. I'm trying to feel if anything's moving loosely under my fingers. There is a reason for it. I'm not completely crazy. I mean, some people would say I am. I think I'm only just a little bit crazy. But then again, with all the shit that's going on around here, let me pet my felt. Pet the felt. I'm not harming anybody. Just let me pet the felt. Alright, so this one kinda... Let me set a... Oh, so that one was actually kind of going that way. It's supposed to sit behind it. You know what? That's fine. We'll carry this down into here. Oh, what time is it? Okay. I'm feeding the husband tonight, so I just have to keep an eye on time. But I'm also waiting for people to get the fuck out of my way in the kitchen, so there's too many people in this house. At least for right now, there is. Soon that will be dwindling by at least one person. Air quotes, soon. So I think I've got the frames that I'm going to pick out for my new glasses when the time comes narrowed down. I just have to upload a photo to the website, because we're gonna try to mail order this. Russell did his through this website, and he's pretty happy with his. So we're gonna, since he's pretty happy with his, we're gonna try to do mine, because they were a little bit cheaper going through this site than it was going through someplace else, because I mean, it's not like we have eye insurance to make it a little bit cheaper in person. So I need to upload a photo to see what they're gonna look like on my face. Because there was one thing mentioned in one of the reviews on one of the pairs of frames that was actually kind of helpful. Where they were talking about how the bridge between the two lenses sat really high on their face. Because their nose bridge naturally sits a little bit lower, and I guess they didn't think about that before they got them. And since I can't really try them on ahead of time. What's wrong? Everything okay?
Yeah, Momo was just being Momo.
Okay.
He got up to investigate because he heard Granny in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. They're still not done dinner?
They're just getting started. The potatoes weren't done.
Okay, so we can go a little bit longer then. Because I can't really cook out there with them underfoot because I need 2 burners, and it's just better if I'm not out there with other people trying to cook. Let's just put it that way. It's better for everyone's blood pressure. Kind of funny, we went through all the trouble to make sure that we finished getting our groceries for the month, or at least most of them, today. Because Russell was like, well, we can go on Friday. I'm like, you understand the closer to the weekend with the Super Bowl coming in. Everybody and their parrot is going to be out shopping for stuff because we are in big football country. I mean, granted, it's not the university, and it's like national state teams, but they take their football very seriously here. Like, we need to get the shit and get out. And you know what? I just realized I still haven't finished the stream schedule. Jesus fucking Christ, Nisey. It's a bad ADHD day. Undiagnosed, we will say that. Saturday, I don't stream. Normally. I normally don't stream on Saturday. I know there was a rare couple of RimWorld streams on a Saturday at one point. Saturday is hard for me to stream on because I do a lot of stuff for the WoW Challenges podcast when it's over behind the scenes. I help the mod during the show, and then I do a lot of, I do like kind of post-production on it, getting posts ready for their website and transferring videos to where they need to go and setting stuff up. So I'm busy on Saturdays, really. So I keep Saturday open. Now, if the show's on break, like it was during those few rare Saturday streams, then yeah, I'll stream if I've got nothing else happening. But Saturday doesn't normally happen. And then Sundays we do a dedicated art day. So normally art is for Sunday, but today we just decided to do it. Yeah, everybody's gonna have parties, all of the food, and I'm like, yeah, let's go and get this done, because he really didn't want to go today, and I'm like, look, you and I both don't like being in the crowded stores, and we don't know if we're gonna have to go on a treasure hunt for some of the stuff that we need with the way that the grocery store shelves have been looking. So how about we just do it today, get it done and over with. And we went to pick up his medication, and when he had called it in last night, they're like, oh, it'll be ready Friday afternoon. And I'm like, Friday afternoon? He goes, oh, it always says that. And I'm like, alright.
It does always say that.
Well, we got there, and the lady in the drive-thru was like, oh, we're actually currently working on that. And I thought, oh, well, we'll just come back when we're done shopping. And she's like, we actually had to order that medication, we're out of it, so that'll be on our truck tomorrow afternoon. And I'm like, okay. But at least we can just go through the drive-thru for that, but we do need to pick up some Tums because we're just about out. So we'll probably have to run in for that anyhow. But hopefully we can just get the fuck in and get out. Today, the stores were pretty quiet. It was kind of strange. I mean, the Supercenter in Fayetteville is always busy because it's Fayetteville, it's a university town, there's always people coming and going. It's always a bit of a clusterfuck down there, but it wasn't actually that bad. I've seen it way, way worse. And the closer, smaller, just grocery Walmart to us was pretty quiet too, which I thought was also kind of strange. It's not normally that quiet. I can't tell if that's a, oh, it's a motorcycle. Okay. Almost sounded like a helicopter. Like, if that's a helicopter, it's like idling over our house. So, our best of plans to try to avoid going out tomorrow. And we'll still have to end up going out tomorrow, although it'll be later in the afternoon. Or very early Saturday morning. I'm not sure what time the pharmacy opens, though. I feel like it's 9 or 10. Really didn't want to go on Saturday, but we'll have to see what cards we are dealt when we get there, I guess. Alright, you know what, I think we will grab the big one here just for a second. So I do apologize for those that like to watch art streams and see a completed project at the end of every single one of them. A lot of the times it's a multi-part adventure over here. Especially with this medium. This does take a little bit longer to get through. But for those that don't like watching the whole process, I will be doing a speed paint version of this, of all of the streams from this project mushed together, and that will be put on the YouTube channel. Because I do recognize that this is a little bit longer to get through, and just so you know, the speed paint may end up being like an hour, because that's how long these sessions have been. But that won't be until we're completely done in this one. So the YouTube channel, same name as here, NiseyBGN. And we have the Twitter account, so you can follow there. It's me screaming into the void a lot. Other times we're just posting that we're live doing certain things. It's where I post when we do a bonus stream. So if you don't want to miss out on that. Now this fiber's a little bit thicker. I don't know if that's going to be an issue. See if I can get it separated out just a little bit. That's not too bad. So I do think we need to come back in with a little bit more black in this one. And I think we need just a little bit more of this color. But I do like this a lot better than the oil paint. We've done several Bob Ross tutorials with the actual oil paint. I'm not sure if any of those are archived on the YouTube channel, because I hit a section of time where we were in a bit of a more of a financial kerfluffle, and we were trying to find a cheaper internet option, and the internet option we went with locally, we thought we were getting 1 speed, and then they were like, oh no, your end of town has this speed, and we didn't realize that till after we had switched, and it was taking me quite a long time to even upload a YouTube video, and streaming wasn't happening. I think it was like was it 1 up 10 down, or was it 10 up 1 down? It was terrible, because the wiring in this end of town had not been upgraded yet. And they're like, oh, within the next 6 months, fiber will be in your area. And we're like, oh, well, maybe we can hold out the 6 months. 6 months came and went, and they were not to our area yet at all. So we ended up going back to the other option that we had originally been on. And I think like 2 months later, then they started to put the fiber in, because they ran it through our front yard. And I'm like, of course they did. Of course. We have since switched back to that company, and we are on the fiber now. It's very nice having triple up and triple down. Triple digits. So much better than what we were on. Like, I don't mind paying for it if it's gonna do what I want it to do. Because when we were on the internet from Cox cable, it was getting to the point where it was starting to get really unreliable. And I was having a lot more drops, a lot more downtime. No notice of, oh hey, the internet's gonna be out for a while, and then, you try to report the problem, there's no problems in your area, and I'm like, the fuck there ain't. I haven't had internet for 2 hours, and I'm in the middle of trying to do something. This is a problem. I am paying this much money for this service, and it wasn't cheap. I think right before we dropped it, between that and the cable package we had, which was not really that extensive, we didn't have any of the extra pay channels. It was the 1 step up from having 4 main channels or whatever, or maybe 10 main channels. Between that and the internet, it was over $200, and I'm like, oh no, we can't keep doing this. I'm not sure. My mom ended up picking up just the cable when we switched to the internet and phone. Excuse me, sir. Thank you. I don't know how much she's paying for that. But we tried to do Hulu. I think we had it a week. I was having trouble finding stuff that I wanted to watch on there that interested me at the time.
Well, and I mostly got it for your parents.
But yeah, I had to watch it on the internet app because we only had the one Fire Stick, and he had gotten it so they could have a cheaper option for TV, and my dad could not operate the remote for it because I think partially there was no numbers on the remote. It was just a circle and 4 arrows, up, down, to the side, around the circle, indicating what direction it would use to navigate through the menus, and he could not handle that and kept getting off of the live TV and onto their movie options, I guess, or something. And then the one day he ended up buying a movie for $20, and we're still not quite sure how that happened. He doesn't know how that happened, And when that happened, we had to get rid of Hulu. I think we were still in our free trial. Or our reduced cost trial or something. So that lasted like all of a week, 2 weeks. Because my dad just couldn't handle it, and we had to keep going in there and fixing it for him, and he was getting pissy about it, and he's still not that good with technology, even though he pays all his bills online, which mystifies me, how he can figure that out, but couldn't handle the Hulu Fire Stick remote. And I think we were going to try to see if we could get a universal remote with numbers that would work with the Fire Stick.
You have to understand. We can only save money if it's not inconvenient for him.
Well, this is true.
Jeez, get it right.
He was quite in a spot with that. He couldn't handle figuring that out. So I'm like, alright. There goes that idea. So, because Russell and I were going to try to pay for that on our own, I think. Because him and I don't really watch TV. I was kind of perturbed when we were first talking about dropping it because I wanted access to the weather because we're in a tornado country. But a lot of the local news stations started doing weather coverage either on Facebook Live or on their websites during the severe weather outbreaks. So I kind of backed off of my anal retentiveness over that, because at least then we could find out what the fuck was going on. As long as I have a way to find out what the hell's happening. Because we don't fuck around with the tornadoes. You hate living in Louisiana because of hurricane season. I don't mind hurricane season so much. I used to live in Jersey, so I'm not a stranger to hurricanes. Because you have some kind of warning for them. It doesn't make living through them any better. But, and yeah, you can have tornadoes spin up as the bands are coming on shore. And, you know, they do last a hell of a lot longer than a tornado. They have their downside. I'm not saying they're so much easier. They're just as dangerous, just in different aspects. But I feel like it's a little tiny smidgen better because you have some sort of warning and you can prepare to some degree. I just don't like the tornadoes because you don't know if one's going to drop on your head. Like, even with all of the forecasting and stuff, they can say, well, something looks funny here. And I will say, the one day we were having a severe outbreak, I was actually in the middle of streaming, and I had said, you know, we were doing an art stream. I was like, guys, I'm going to have to keep AFKing here periodically so I can check on the weather because they are live talking about something going on. And I had just checked, and some of the people in the chat were like, you really need to look over X town. There's something, we think there's something on the radar, like, you know, the storm spotters and, you know, your weekend hobbyist weather people that actually haven't been trained in weather, but, you know, they've educated themselves enough on their own to think that there was something going on. And he's like, I just don't see what you guys are talking about. And as soon as he said that, our power went out. And Russell and I kind of looked at each other and were like, what the fuck? And we kind of waited a minute because we're on one of the main service lines through the town. So when the power does go out here, which isn't often, it usually comes back pretty quick. So we were kind of sitting here and we kind of froze and we were both kind of looking at each other and we kind of didn't know what that meant. And we're like, should we go duck and cover? Like, what the fuck's going on? Because he wasn't saying anything, and the National Weather Service in Tulsa hadn't put up a warning for us, and we're like, what's happening? Like, we're just both kind of sitting here completely dumbfounded, and the weather radio hadn't kicked anything up at that point, so we were just kind of like, okay, and we kind of just kind of sat tight for a minute, because we don't have a storm shelter at this house. I'd feel a little bit better if we had one, like, that was interior, but this house is so old, and it's a crawl space underneath. I don't really think they can do that. I think it would have to be exterior at this point. And we don't have the money for that right now, because I think minimum that we were looking at when we were looking at them was like $5,000, and that was for like a 3-person shelter, and we have 5 people now. And trying to get my dad into one with his slow movement would be extremely difficult. And so we just kind of sat here. I'm like, should we go like to the bathroom or something? And even our bathroom's not great because it's on an outer wall. We have no inner closets. This house is a nightmare to be in. And it's like, there's no place safe to go. Everything's like touching an outer wall. There's like 2 closets in this house, and both of them touch an outer wall. And it's like, okay. So it's like, yeah, okay, what do we do? And we kind of sat tight. It didn't sound too good outside. We could hear the wind roaring, and there was some hail and stuff, and we're like, what's happening? And a little bit later, you know, the storm kind of went by, and we're like, okay. The power was still out, and we were kind of like, what the fuck's going on? Because at that point in time, he didn't have his, I don't think he had his cell phone, his smartphone yet. I think that came after this. And we're just kind of sitting there. So we didn't really know what was going on. We just knew the power was out. 6 hours later, the power finally came back on, and I was like, damn, that was a really long time for that to be out. I wonder what happened. Maybe a transformer blew. Well, we're part of a few Facebook pages that townsfolk have started. Like, not official city pages, but I mean, we follow the official city page too. But apparently those that had smart cell phones were busy taking photos that enlightened us to the mystery of why the power had gone out for so long. Apparently there was a spin-up tornado like 4 blocks down the road that went down one of the streets going away from our house, that took out 2/3 of the trees along the edge of the road and took out about 5 different power poles before it lifted. And they were showing pictures of the street where you couldn't even see down the street because so many trees had toppled over in the middle of it. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess that would do it. So that wasn't too fun. And no power, no internet without the smartphone Wi-Fi. So I mean that was not fun. Another time, another storm spotter was saying that they saw a funnel cloud over our town cemetery, and the weather dude's like, it's not. He's always, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The radar's not showing that. And people are like, I'm looking at it out my back window. I don't know what to tell you, weather dude, for the news, but I'm telling you what I'm seeing. And they're like, and that was kind of scary because that was pretty close that time. The cemetery is not that far from our house. And I was like, oh shit. So, we've had a few tornado warnings here. I think we had one in December. And they were showing where they thought it was going, and I was like, they're saying that's going down the road, is just following it, that our house is sitting on. So I'm like, husband, I think we need to go hide in the bathroom for a little bit. So we kind of hung out there, and I'm kind of watching the weather apps, and the wind was so loud. We didn't have any damage. I don't think it ever touched the ground. I think that one might have just been radar rotation or just a funnel. I don't think it ever touched the ground because nobody posted any kind of damage from that from our town. But that was still unnerving, to say the least. I've been through a couple of hurricanes. There was one when I was little. Like baby little. I remember the house that we were living in at the time had the front picture window boarded up. I don't remember what hurricane that was. I feel like it was an H. I feel like it was Hugo, and I want to say it was Hugo, but I don't remember what year Hugo was, so I could be wrong. It is kind of scary with the hurricanes, especially at night. Night hurricanes are something. They're almost as unnerving because they just go on forever. We had to deal with Sandy when we were in New Jersey. Most recently, we were still up there for that. That was a bitch. We had a huge tree in our neighbor's yard. That we were a little concerned about. There had been a big ass tree in our yard that we had actually cut down when we bought the house, because it made us a little bit nervous because of how tall it was, and we're like, if that thing falls in this direction, it's gonna just splinter the house like a house of cards. That's not a good idea for that to be that close. So it was good that we got rid of that, because there were chunks of it that were falling off that looked like it was dead in spots. That probably helped us. Sandy was not pleasant. We were home. Fortunately, we weren't at work. And I think we were working at the casino at the time. They didn't try to make us stay for that. We've had to stay for a snowstorm, but they didn't make us stay for the hurricane. I think it was our days off, and that's how that ended up happening. Because we weren't there for them to try to con us into staying. And our bedroom was in the basement, because it was the only finished room down there, and it was larger than my bedroom upstairs. So we were a little bit protected down there, but my parents were upstairs, and we were listening to tornado warnings popping off, and we were in a tornado warning, and I was trying to get them to come downstairs, and my dad's like, I'm not coming down there. And I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. And you would hear the tree limbs popping and snapping. And we had power for a good amount of time. And then we suddenly didn't have power. And we were plunged into the darkness. It was very hard to sleep, because the wind just made the whole house creak. And we were lucky because we weren't near any flooding. Our house was up on a hill, so we didn't have to worry about that. We weren't like right on the coast or on a barrier island. We were technically on a barrier island, but we weren't right on the water, so we were okay where we were. I think part of where we were got cut off a little bit due to flooding, but I don't think it stayed around very long. I think it ended up receding pretty quick. But we were out of power for 3 days. Yeah, I don't remember how long Sandy was. Sandy was a while. It wasn't 7 hours though, but it was a while. And our power was out for 3 days, and we didn't know why. And I know that's gonna sound stupid. Well, the why was the hurricane. No, you don't understand. Our neighbors across the street had power. people on the street over from them had power. People on the street across from us, like across the main road that split between us, had power. And I think people like 2 streets over from us had power. And we're like, why do we not have power? And we had called and reported the outage multiple times. And they couldn't give us an estimated time of it coming back. And in the meantime, we still had to go to work and shit. So I was charging what stuff I could at work while I was there. Those cold showers going into work were not pleasant. Although it was still a little sticky, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like dead of winter cold, but it was still not the greatest. And they finally got the power back on towards the end of day 3. The electric company guy came around and he said, "Oh, yeah, it should be good now. There was a switch that was triggered on one of the transformers. We just had to flip it." They didn't even... Oh, thanks for the follow. They didn't even have to replace a power line or a pole or a transformer. It was a switch on the transformer. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We've been without power for 3 days. We lost all the food in the fridge and the freezer. Because you just had to flip a switch. Oh, that's okay. No worries. No worries. It happens. It's all good. It's all good. So, I mean, hurricanes, I can handle hurricanes a little bit better than I can the tornadoes. Because we were thinking, maybe, if the stars align, we might end up moving somewhere that does have hurricane action again. But that's quite a number of years down the road still, so we'll see what happens. But we would also not probably stay for it. We would probably go to shelter or something. We'd be like, yeah, okay, we've done all we can. We're gonna bounce. But, it all depends. Like, tropical storm, I would probably stay. Hey, boss. Tropical storm, I'd probably stay. Depending on if I was in a flood zone. If I was in a flood zone, I would still bounce for the tropical storm, because you don't know. I'd rather not have to have somebody come and rescue my ass when I could have, played it a bit safer and knowing what zone I was in and chose not to leave. It's like, no... If we're gonna do that, then we'll take all of the safety precautions necessary. But tropical storm Cat 1, I'd probably stay. Cat 2 would make me nervous. I know even a Cat 1 can do quite some damage, depending on how long it's gonna sit on you. So, that I'd have to think about, but Cat 2 I'd probably definitely be bouncing. Be like, yeah, no, that's not worth it. Yeah, Cat 5, hell no. If it even remotely looks like it might get to Cat 5, if it's even thinking about flirting with Cat 5 at any point in its lifetime, no. Nope. Pack up every tiny nook and cranny of that vehicle, and property, we'll see you later. Hopefully there's something left of you to see, and we will pack up everything that is going to be a problem to replace in the car, and good luck, property. Good luck. Oh, thank you. It's hard to do Bob Ross mountains in fiber, because we don't have the palette knife magic. So we kind of have to separate these stringy strings out. without them getting a little too stringy. If that makes sense. Took 2 weeks to get electricity back, 2 months to get cable net back. Oh, fuck that. Yeah, those Cat 5s are not to be fucked with. Oh, right. That's the one that, didn't that destroy, like, flooding or something destroyed or, like, the trees toppled in and water, like, it was, like, the perfect storm where everything destroyed, like, a power substation.
I think it was a huge mess.
The one that hit, Louisiana. Yeah, I think I know the one that if that's the same one. Yeah. Because, you know, I watch all of the weather coverage and the round-the-clock stuff. Like, I drive Russell crazy with it. I know I do. Especially for the tropical systems. Words are hard to say sometimes. But yeah, it's like, you live in Grand Isle, isn't like it used to be. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that got hit really hard down there. Yeah, I was surprised to see that some people had stayed on a couple of those barrier islands down there, and I'm like, no. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna get trapped. And then nobody can even come save your ass because they can't get to you. Like, don't do it. Just go. Just go. Find wherever the closest shelter is. I know it's not going to be fun being in the shelter. Nobody wants to be in the shelter, but I have a strict policy of don't fuck around and find out with anything higher than Cat 3 and higher. Very strong policy. Cat 2, I might be on the fence. Cat 1, I would probably stay. Tropical storm, I'd probably just stay. Depending on, you know, like I was saying, flood zone. And if they thought it was going to sit for a long time. If it was just going to sit and spin, I would probably bounce out for a while. If possible. I mean, I know that's not always possible for some people with their jobs and stuff. Depending on if they are essential workers and what have you. And of course, COVID added an extra layer of fuck this shit to hurricane season the past couple. Oh god, and then it rained see, that's the worst, because then, you know, you can't even get out there and start the cleanup process and the healing process of all of the shit that you gotta fucking fix. Because you can't even really get out there to get the shit dealt with if it's gonna keep dumping rain on top of an already bad situation. Just going back in this section here and adding a little bit of black to kind of darken up our shadows here. Yeah, I can imagine. Now, we've never been to Louisiana, but I can imagine it wasn't pleasant at all. We almost went to Louisiana. A little bit after we moved here, there was an ad in the newspaper here for corgi puppies for $100. They had no papers on them, but the photos were there. And I was like, oh my god, these are so adorable. I was like, Russell, they're $100. And we talked to the guy on the phone, and everything sounded legit. And then we found out when we were asking how to get to him, he was like, oh, I'm down in Louisiana. And I'm like, what? I was like, if you're down in Louisiana, why are you putting a newspaper ad up in Northwest Arkansas? I was was like, we're not even that close to the border. I was like, what? Like, it takes us like 4 hours to just get to Little Rock. I was so mad. Because when Russell found out how far it was, he's like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. He's like, we would have to get a hotel room overnight, because I'm not driving that far and back in one day. And we really didn't want to deal with a puppy in a hotel room. So, the guys that came to fix your lines were from New York. Well, at least somebody finally came to fix them. But yeah, those guys were... Even the guys that were there to fix the stuff, you know, they were having a shit time of it too, because no place had power. Didn't they bring in, was that the storm that they brought in one of the cruise ships from either Carnival or what the fuck was the other one? I don't remember the name of the cruise line, but I think it was Celebration or something. It was a West Palm Beach to I know this, one of the Bahama ports, Freeport, I think, that went back and forth between the two. But it was either a Carnival ship or it was something from that company. They only had like 2 cruise ships or something. Yeah. Funny story. We had been planning to go on vacation. First vacation that we had, like a legit vacation that we had in like 10 years. And that might be underestimating, because we just didn't have the money to go. The last time we'd been on a legit vacation, I think, was our honeymoon. And we were gonna go back to Key West. It was our first time driving there, like, on our own. And right before we were getting ready to leave, they were talking about a late season hurricane. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, no. I want my vacation, yo. I need my vacation. But it was like a couple of weeks before we were leaving. So I was like, well, maybe it'll be done and gone. Well, it ended up hitting the panhandle of Florida. It might have been a month before we went down. And I was so preoccupied with making sure that we had our driving route figured out and, you know, trying to make sure I could find pet-friendly hotels because the dogs were going with us, so I was trying to write down potential cities where we could stop and the addresses to put in the GPS and everything. I was basically living on Google Maps for a few weeks. And one of the road options went through down to I-10 and basically followed, you know, like the Gulf Coast. And I was like, oh, that's probably a pretty drive. And then I saw that it was partially closed due to the hurricane damage. And I was like, oh, well, that's not going to happen. So we ended up going a different way. And instead of down and over, we kind of went diagonal and then over through Georgia. And we stopped. Where did we stop? We stopped somewhere in Georgia. I think it was Georgia. Yeah, I think it was Georgia because it was a Red Roof Inn that we had stopped at. And when we were signing in, we were asking some questions about places to eat nearby or something. And the dude at the front desk goes, yeah, you know, you guys lucked out. We just got our power back like 2 or 3 days ago. And I was like, what? apparently they were fucked up too. It was Hurricane Michael. And I had not realized that the damage had gone that far up into Georgia, like with the bad power outages and stuff. But I will say, when we were driving through the Keys, now I had known that Hurricane Irma had hit them pretty bad, but in my brain I was thinking that was at least a year or two ago when we had driven through there. Like, I thought it had been at least a year before. It might have been 2. I couldn't fully remember. And as we're driving through the Keys, once you hit, I think, Big Pine Key, on the sides of the roads, or the road, excuse me, one in, one out situation down there, you definitely don't fuck around and find out. You get out down there, because there's only the one road in. There were all these, like, piles of rubble. Just that's the only way to describe it, was rubble. And it was crazy, because then it sunk in that was still Hurricane Irma damage that they still hadn't gotten cleaned up. Where, like, a trailer park used to be here, or a condo complex used to be there, or it was like an RV pull-in and park kind of weird campground thing that kind of did multiple things that just got so decimated and flooded that they just knocked it down. And it was like, wow, it's been this long and there's still this much cleanup to fucking get through. So that was kind of sobering. I think maybe I almost want a little bit more of the light color in there. Kinda. Let's see if we can pull off a strip and... Oh, fluff flying everywhere. Oh no. Tack down. Thank you. Pull that down off to the side. Alright, getting that tapped in there. And I might put just maybe one more little splotch of that light brown color in there. I feel like we need just a little bit something more. But, I mean, we kind of lucked out in Jersey. We were in South Jersey, so we didn't have too much of the tropical systems, because a lot of the times, by time they made it to Jersey, the Jersey Shore, it was either remnants that came up through the country and were just picked up by the jet stream and were on their way out, and were just kind of like a rain system that was kind of windy, or we would get a little bit of it up the coast, but by the time it got up to the colder waters off the Jersey coast, it was it kind of lost a lot of its oomph and steam, and it was just kind of like a rainy, windy day. The main thing we had to deal with were the nor'easters, which I guess were kind of like your winter hurricanes to a degree. Those were a bit of a pain in the ass. More so with the flooding than anything, because that made it a pain for us to get to work. Because we were working in Atlantic City for a while, and you know, Atlantic City's an outer barrier island, and all of the roads in could flood. Some of them flooded more readily than others, but you knew it was a bad storm when all of them were flooded and you were forced to take the train. And even then, the train wasn't always reliable. Alright, I think, yeah, that looks a little bit better. Let's grab our big guy of doom here. I kind of don't like the space in the middle, because it feels like that just creates a circular interior area that I miss. Seems like every time where I want the stuff to get tagged down is in that area where there's no needle located. Got the big snow boots out for this one. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Now I've got that in there, I kind of want a little bit more light stuff over there. This is like always a back and forth kind of thing. Last piece, I think, that we'll put in for today. Look you. There we go. I mean, they didn't come out too terrible. At least, you know, you can kind of recognize them as mountains. Which, you know, main goal. That's always good if it looks somewhat like what you're trying to achieve. Oh yes, that's better. I'm just gonna... Oh, no, I should have left well enough alone. I should have tacked that down more before I pulled it. That's okay, though. That's okay. I still am pretty happy with that. Get that little wispy guy pulled off of there. Some of this cream is almost taking on a blue hint to it now. That's interesting. Alright, let's grab the big boy of doom one more time. Make sure that we've got all of our loose ends attached here. Let's put that down. I don't want that swinging around. Okay, I think just down in here. Needle felting ASMR. Alright, let's rip that off the pad as gently as we can. Just gonna smooth out our back here. Just kind of helps everything sit a little bit flatter on the front. Alright, you guys. I kind of wonder if we should put a little bit, just a tiny little sliver over here maybe, but I don't know. Maybe just a teeny tiny touch. I know I keep saying that I'm not adding anymore, but not a lot. Not a lot. Just a little thin wispy guy. I know it looks like a lot, but he's gonna kind of collapse in on himself and shrink down. As we work him in there. Alright, grab the big guy again. Don't think we were quite tacked down enough for the big guy to really look like he made that much of a difference. I mean, it's pretty bad when you can't get 8 needles to hit the section that you want. You would think more needles, I'd be more on target. Okay, that feels like that is pretty good there. Oh, thank you. I mean, they didn't come out too bad. So next week, well, not next week, Sunday, when we pick this back up again, we'll start our tree line that's gonna kind of work in here at the base of our mountains. It'll probably cover up a lot of this yellow that's sticking out below them. And we'll go from there. So that's gonna do it for today. I need to go make dinner for myself and the husband because I think everybody's finally out of the kitchen.
Yeah,
and I am hungry.
I was gonna ask if you wanted to get your walk in first.
Yeah, we might do that ahead of time. I know. But, you know, we have to have something to look forward to. Tomorrow we'll be doing Parkitect at some point in the afternoon. Watch Twitter, because I do post when I'm going to go live there. Don't forget to follow in all of the places. Let's go see who's doing things and stuffs. Let's go see Dave, you guys. Looks like Dave is playing WoW. Dave's been a friend for quite some time. So let's go say hi to Dave. And I thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon into the evening. I hope you all have a great night. Thank you for the new follows. And I hope to see everybody tomorrow for some Parkitect. Until tomorrow, have a great one, you guys.